what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fins Faithful Podcast. Thanks for joining us on this three-wide Wednesday. Dolphins get their first victory on Monday night, 1-3. Got a golden opportunity to go 2-3 with the Carolina Panthers up ahead. But it was a bittersweet victory, of course. Dolphins lose Tyreek Hill for the season on that gruesome knee injury. Maybe that was his last play down as a Miami Dolphin. We'll get into all that. We'll take a look at what life could look without Tyreek. What the offense is going to look like, who needs to step up, and a bunch of other things. And to do that, we have a very special guest in the house. Big fan of his, Alf Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry. Great podcast himself. C.K. Kaufman, Simon Clancy, one of the ones I listen to religiously. Great stuff, as always. And if you're, of course, we're live on YouTube, so drop those likes, hit those thumbs up, little bell, subscribe, all that good stuff we're supposed to say. And keep the chat flooded. We throw some questions in for us tonight, and also on the under the video. I love going after the show and kind of responding to everybody's stuff under the description. So thank you. All right, enough of me yapping. Always my co-host and co-pilot Jason Sarni's with me, as we mentioned. Alf, fellas, how you doing this evening? Alf, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Looking forward to going 2-3, and then a pretty big week the following week.
Yeah.
Little bit of a nice quarterback matchup we have following week, Alf, huh?
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm sure Twitter's going to be nice and quiet for that one.
Yeah.
All right, that's the fan weekend too. Are you going to that whole thing, Alf? Boat campers and all that stuff on Saturday, or?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. He doesn't know. So obviously not. I'll send you the information if you want to know. All right. Jason, kick us off here, man. Lead us. Let's dive into this.
Yeah, Monday night they got a win at an expense of a terrible loss and losing Tyreek. But Alf, what were your thoughts on the entire game? You obviously get the W, but I'm sure you can tell us a little bit of the negatives that came with the positives.
Yeah, there was a lot of good and a lot of bad, unfortunately, in that game. The good came with the offense. We talked about it on our podcast on Thursday, Simon and I, when we did the preview of the show. We said, look, why not just lean into the things that you do well and that you have done well the last 2 years? Bring back the run actions, run on first down, make third downs manageable, put it in the hands of your quarterback on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and just go from there. And if anybody's been paying attention, the last 3 games, the Dolphins have scored 3 touchdowns in each of the last 3 games. And for those that don't know, the last time I checked the stat was at the beginning of last year, and I believe it was the last 25 years or something like that. 78% of teams that score 3 touchdowns in a game win. Now, unfortunately, the Dolphins are 1-2 in those last 3 games. Okay, that they've scored 3 touchdowns in each of those games. But that's good offense. And the way they executed in this game, that was just good offense. Now for the downside. Look, on defense, we saw they weren't very good in this game. I'll give you the good news, and then I'll give you the bad news. The good news is that past the first drive, the run defense was much, much, much better. The bad news is that you had that first drive, and in that first drive, it seemed to be that anything that Anthony Weaver called that's a little bit out of the ordinary, they just can't execute. And the problem is when you put on the all-22, I think it's rather shocking that the best thing from this defense is Rasul Douglas and Jack Jones, and those guys just got here a month ago. So they got a ton of work to do on defense. The good news is that they can't get any worse. Like, the defense is bad, but I think they're gonna be getting slightly better because I think Zach Sealer played better in this game. He was bad in the first 3. And I think Jalen Phillips is coming around. I think Chop Robinson is just playing hurt. And Bradley Chubb, unfortunately, I don't think is back and looks kind of done. Looks very slow on his get off. But I think they're going to improve. Now, improve to what? Who knows?
Yeah, you mentioned, it's funny, real quick. You mentioned the people who look at the stat sheet and say, oh, Chubb's playing better than Phillips, but that's not true. No. Chubb, he's just kind of falling into them. But I agree, the explosiveness is just not there. But
yeah, if you watch the Bills game is a good game to watch. First of all, the Bills are a really good team, and then That's who you really want to measure yourself against. You don't want to measure yourself against the Jets. You want to measure yourself against the Buffalo Bills. I thought they went toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills for 55 minutes. That's not terrible, but they tend to do that for whatever reason in Buffalo. We get them in a few weeks, and I think better expectations for that game. Like, it's about time you beat those guys, okay? Especially in your own place. But watch that game. Jalen Phillips played really, really well in that game. He just didn't get the results. But you know what usually happens when a guy is playing fast and making plays and playing with a lot of effort? Those results will come. I'm optimistic about Jalen Phillips. I'm not optimistic about Bradley Chubb. I think I think the best you can hope for, even if Miami's a playoff contender by the trade deadline, they're on the right side of 500. Even if that's the case, you kind of want to root for Bradley Chubb to get some sacks here, so that stat sheet looks nice and plump, and you could get a draft pick from somebody that needs a pass rusher at the deadline.
You don't think the salary would behoove a team? I mean, it might cost the level of draft pick, but you think there could be a slight chance of it?
I think so. I think somebody's going to look at him and look, there's always a sucker, right? Then somebody's going to look, man, maybe he has 7 sacks by then. And somebody's going to look at it and say, oh, whoa, yeah, he has 7 sacks. He's going to help us. And most of that salary, I believe, by that time, by the deadline, is pretty much paid off. So teams are going to owe the balance of the season, which is going to be nothing. It's going to be like what, $5 million, a little less than that. If that's the case, yeah, somebody might throw him a pick. A high pick, don't get crazy. But a 5th rounder, a 6th rounder, possibly.
Yeah. Let's go to the offense because you talked about it in this game. I thought the play calling, it was just much cleaner, I thought. I love the wrinkles they threw in. Tua looked more comfortable. They utilized his ball handling. Alf, you would agree. He's a master at that. His RPO stuff, going back to college. I thought the footwork was better, that he was calmer, wasn't as much happy feet, and he played under center a ton. I love the drag routes, the boot. I loved all of it. Did you like the game plan going forward? This kind of comes off. I thought it was better, even better than the Bills one. This kind of comes off that game. Mike's getting into his bag a little bit more and realizing. Did you like the game plan offensively?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved all the run actions. First of all, the run actions help your offensive line, right? So, you're not going to ask him to be back there in pass pro for 2.5 to 3 seconds. It's a lot. It makes the game a lot simpler for your guys up front. And let's face it, they have to cover up for Larry Borum, and quite frankly, they had to cover up a little bit for Jonas Avayana. I thought that Cole Strange was actually pretty good in this last game. So I even said it on our Discord right there. You can see the name,
Yes.
OnlyFins. I said on our Discord, Cole Strange, first of all, he's like, what, 26? I'd offer him a contract to come back for training camp next year to be the 4th guard. That's kind of what you want. You want a guy who can kind of execute what you call. And, I don't want him starting, but if he's your 4th guard, that's not the worst thing in the world, right? I thought he was good in this game. I thought Larry Borum was bad. So, and Jonah is like uneven, but he's a rookie. So, yeah. I don't want to pile too much onto Jonas Avayana. Yeah. But I will say, you call those run actions, all those play action passes, it helps your offensive line immensely. So why not do that? So yeah, I love the game plan. The game plan got Tua out on the perimeter. They moved the pocket. Tua only took 2 hits in the game. That's a great thing. And you saw how the offense operated. The operation was simpler, faster, quicker. So, I think they're actually looking up in this regard, especially on offense. And I know that it's weird to say that after you lose Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
But I think it's entirely possible they're going to improve off of this game offensively.
Yeah, I got it. We got a question about that coming up because it's crazy when you think about it, but it actually might. But you mentioned the offensive line. Yeah, I got to the first half of the All-22. Yeah, I didn't think Strange was bad. He was better than I thought watching the broadcast. And Jonah, he was a little better in the run blocking, but the pass blocking, the technique sometimes is just, he loses pretty quick a lot. But again, he's young, and I do think Jonah. I was a big fan of his coming out, and I do think he'll figure it out. But yeah, I think Jordan was better than the run blocking in this game. Do you agree, or was there a little bit of improvement? Did you see, or is it about the same?
Yeah, and as far as a run blocker, he was
Yeah.
fine. I thought he was fine as a run blocker. As a pass protector, it's been the same thing all year. Bad technique. He's bending at the waist. He's losing contact. He's not holding his blocks. He's very, very mindful of. Look, a couple of times I could almost swear he's looking at the referee. You know,
I gotta look.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and look at that.
like there's a couple of times where I could swear he's looking at the referee like, "Did you catch me there?" Because
It's like a guilty conscience of a basketball player who knows he's fouling or reaching.
yeah, so yeah, he needs time. But I would say, look, let's just be patient. It's 4 games in. At the end of the season, let's reevaluate, and then we'll talk about it in the off season. But we got to give these guys time. Same thing on the defensive line with the defensive tackles.
Quick follow-up on Joe, and I know this might be kind of a hindsight, retrospective kind of question and answer, but right side was his college home, moves to the left. Were you happy with that? Do you think that they're going to stick with the left, or would there be a benefit of moving him, or at this point, just stick with the left?
Yeah, the original thinking was, look, you're going to put the veteran James Daniels to hold Patrick Paul's hand, right? And then you're going to put Jonah on the right side so you can have Austin Jackson hold his hand. But they decided, look, we want to make our offensive line left-handed. We want to have our power guys to the left side, and we want to build an identity with those two guys, especially since they're young, and they're going to be playing together for a very long time. At least that's the hope, right? So then I kind of understood it, But look, now it's too late, right? Like, you can't do it anymore. You can't move. You move him the right guard, might as well forget the season. Like, you're not going to get good play out of him this year.
Toothpaste is out of the tube, huh?
Yeah, he's the left guard for the rest of the year. He has to learn the position. He has to get better, and he has to get better on the job. There's nothing you can do about that. Now.
I hate when we start doing that. You decided to go with the 2 young guys. Paul, I mean, he's playing fantastic. And so you decided to kind of grow those 2 young guys together. I agree with you. Leave it there. But before we get into some other stuff, I want to stick on Tua for a second, because we had a whole episode about Tua and the difference from him in 23 and kind of a little bit of 24. And to me, he was waiting for guys to get open. You know what I mean? Obviously, he wasn't confident in his arm. He was kind of jittery in the pocket, but throwing the ball. And unfortunately, that throw that he threw to Tyreek and Tyreek got hurt was exactly what Tua. I was like, wow, Tua's back to that. He threw that out pattern, and he timed it. He didn't wait for him to get open. Again, was it the Bills game we broke down the film? He would be 3-4 seconds late on that throw to Tyreek. What have you noticed mostly from the difference of Tua kind of this season and from that, especially I'd say the 23, even a little bit of the 24 season? What was it that you're knowing that he doesn't trust his arm? Do you agree with that assessment? He wasn't throwing with that anticipation that he was kind of waiting for guys to get open.
Not necessarily. I thought that they asked him to do things this year that he's never really done before. They were calling a lot of, longer developing plays, more pass pro sets. And I don't think he's very comfortable in that stuff. I think he's more comfortable in the RPO game. I think he's more comfortable in play action with all those run actions because everything's timing based. I think that's his comfort zone. And you saw it in this game. Otherwise, I think this year they came into the season thinking, look, we're going to call many more pass pro sets because we're going to be a better pass protecting offensive line. That was not the case. You lost the entire right side of the line in the first game of the season. And it looks like you lost them for at least 4 games. We shall see if they come back next week. It hasn't been promising, the stuff that Mike McDaniel has said at the podium. So we shall see. But it's obvious that didn't work. And it didn't work because your 2 guys on the right-hand side got injured. And it's something that Tua doesn't seem like he wants to do, or maybe is not even that good at. So get back to the more simpler run actions, timing-based system, all the play action, the RPO, and he handles that as well or better than anybody else in the league. So just lean into the things that you do well and then evaluate. When the season's done, You look at the win total, you look at what the team produced, then you can evaluate. But don't ask guys to do things that they've never done before or they're not very good at. And then all of a sudden just say, these guys are not good at this. Let's go get guys that are. No, that's not the way it's supposed to work. Put guys to do things that they do well and then evaluate them.
Yeah, he's even you see it out like when he's handling the ball, doing all his fun stuff. I mean, he's as good as it gets. That he just looks confident. He looks going forward with the ball. He's in rhythm. It gets him in rhythm. Even Quinn, like that was Quinn's thing coming out, right? His ball handling, like as Quinn as a backup, kind of. You would agree. That's the one thing I noticed about Quinn Ewers on tape is his ability to ball handle. That's what Tua does great, and I couldn't agree with you more. This is where he should live. I think we got all carried away with that 23 offense. But to me, this kind of offense, this is where Tua, because I mean they teach film on RPO with Tua, right? Like he's that good at it, So I couldn't agree more. All right, so let's go to obviously the injury, the Tyreek injury. Alf, was this his last game as a Miami Dolphin?
Yeah, I would say so. Now, there's always a possibility that, Drew Rosenhaus gets together with the Dolphins and says, look, at least make an offer, and the Dolphins come back with 1 year, $10 million guaranteed. And he says yes, But I think that they'll make an offer, like, hoping that he says no. The awkward thing is, what if Tyreek says yes? Right? That's the awkward thing. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, he's known to be kind of the optimistic type. I thought he was really rosy with everything he was saying about his injury. Like, my God, he's going to be ready for 2026, the opening of the season. He's going to rehab. He's going to be better than ever. He's going to come right back. I saw that injury. I've seen dislocated knees before. That usually means ACL, MCL. It means the worst. It means every ligament in your knee is gone. And quite frankly, when I saw the injury, I said, that's his career. Like, he's not playing ever again. Period. Drew Rosenhaus is contradicting all of that. It is a good sign he had one surgery, and that's it. And he's not going to need any more. At least for now. They said that. So everything's pointing to a decent time ahead for Tyreek Hill as far as his rehab, meaning his earning power is going to be retained. If he's gonna play somewhere else, Dolphins are going to cut him because they're going to save all of that money. So yeah, I'm glad for him. I'm just I'm suspicious. Let's just say I'm not so sure he's playing next year, but we shall see. He's promising he will, so we shall see.
I agree. I mean, an agent sometimes has to speak a little bit more optimistic just for business sake, and Tyreek, who knows what he says, if it's, a little bit of sugarcoating or the actual truth. But, with Tyreek leaving, of course, you have a guy, Darren Waller, coming in and giving a new dimension to this offense, someone that really Tua has not had a sizable target for, especially in the red zone. What is his addition and impact from Monday night? And how does it carry over for the rest of the season?
It's been fabulous. If you watch the All-22 in this game, look, sometimes somebody's going to have to apologize, and not to Darren Waller. Julian Hill has played well this season. He has. If Julian Hill continues to play as well as he has, and you couple him with Darren Waller, they're going to be able to do a lot of 22 personnel, a lot of 12 personnel stuff. That's going to be really interesting, especially in the red zone. And once you get in the red zone and you have that many options, because Achane's a weapon in the red zone, because you could throw him screens, and he's going to beat guys to the perimeter to get in the end zone. Ollie Gordon's a weapon inside the 5-yard line. Jaylen Waddle can work those corner routes, and he can work the slants. You become a really good red zone team, then it's just about getting there. And if you're getting there, you're going to score a lot of points. So, yeah, I'm optimistic. That debut has been nothing short of as spectacular. Like, there's a stat going out there that of all the free agents and trades of tight ends, I believe it's the last 247. Only one has debuted has made his debut and had 2 touchdowns in his debut. and that was Darren Waller. That's it. Out of the rest of them, so that's a pretty important stat, right?
It's a great stat.
You watched the game. Like, did that look like a 33-year-old to you?
No.
No.
That first touchdown was such a spectacular throw, but the catch was even better in getting the 2 feet down. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and that wasn't against that was not against the linebacker.
No.
That was against Sauce Gardner in trail coverage.
And there was a guy underneath there on the first touchdown. And the thing is crazy about that is, Tua, that size gives Tua the confidence because Tua can make those throws in a keyhole better than anybody. And when he does, Tua even mentioned, he's like, man, that really opened my eyes. Like having that
when he threw the ball. When he threw the ball and it got caught, as soon as I saw it when I saw it in the broadcast, I said to myself, "Great catch," but he's not in bounds. Like,
yeah.
He has a foot out of bounds, and they put the replay, and I see his feet, and I'm like, he caught it. He actually caught that thing and got both feet in, and got him comfortably in.
Yeah,
that's more than I can say for Garrett Wilson on his last touchdown, by the way.
There was some white on the edge of that foot, right?
That did not look like a clean.
Maybe that was a makeup call for the PI. But
I think that was a makeup call for the OPI earlier.
Yeah. Was that OPI? It was. I mean, I've seen that call. Yeah.
The thing is that they don't call it, but I don't understand people that I don't understand the people that say, "Oh, but they never call it." It's cheating, but they allow cheating. No, call it. That's offensive pass interference. Like, if you're just going to let wide receivers just push off, then what are we doing? It's not a sport anymore. Then you can't play cornerback anymore.
No.
Agreed. There definitely was a little extracurricular activity, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
for Waller, sorry, Jason, you want to jump in?
No, go ahead.
For Waller, to me, it was the player I never questioned, right? Like, I know what he is. He's an alien, 6'6", 250, 4'5", 4'6" guy, tremendous athlete. But it was how this whole thing played out. It was more the process than anything. So that's what kind of confused me. It still confuses me to this day with the whole Waller. But the player, I don't question that. But how did you think the process was handled? Is it? But because I know, we kind of joked about Waller on the show, but the player's the player. Like, and it's, I'll say, unfortunately, he's got a guy who's 33 coming back. Let's hope he can continue to stay healthy, right, Alf? I mean, that's thing.
That's the important thing. The important thing is that Waller has had an injury history before, so we're optimistic now. But it's one thing to be optimistic now, and it's another thing for him to stay healthy the rest of the season. Okay, those are two completely different things. The process was god awful.
Yeah,
there was no need to lie about his injury. Okay. The guy tore his quad, and I know that today he corrected it. He said, "Oh, it was a strain. A strain's a tear." Okay, so the guy tore his quad 2 weeks after he got signed. All right, the team kept saying, "Oh, we're bringing him on slowly. This is what we do with guys that have been retired for a year." No, just tell the truth. He tore his quad. Maybe they wanted. Maybe they were kind of embarrassed, like, "Oh my God, we're gonna tell the media again that we signed a guy and he immediately got hurt again." Maybe they were a little bit embarrassed about that, but just tell the truth, because you ended up making it worse by telling everybody, "Oh, no, next week. It's, next week's going to be fine. He's going to be ready next week. You're going to see him against the Jaguars in preseason," and then he doesn't practice. And then he shows up for one practice. He does an install, and I was there for the install. I saw him running routes, and I was like, whoa, like, this is going to happen. He's going to play against the Jaguars. And then they're like, no, he's, we're going to hold him out. And then he has the press conference. Mike McDaniel has the press conference where he says, "We might have to think about doing something for the team, what's right for the team." And you're thinking to yourself, what's going on with this? And then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, no, he's playing this week. Oh, and by the way, I tore my quad." No, just be honest from the get-go, and then you don't have all this drama for an entire month.
Yeah, and you say, "Oh, look, he had a setback. He hurt his quad." Just we're not gonna blame him for that. He's a guy who was rapping, a few months ago. Like, it's understandable. I just don't. It's a lot of things the Dolphins do like that. They kind of shoot themselves in the foot. But and shout out to everybody in the chat watching us. If you're watching anywhere else, come over to YouTube, drop a thumbs up. We got Alfredo Arteaga for 3 yards per carry in the house. Shout out to the dive bars in the house. Shout out, boys. Sports Night with Jorge. Mike's in the house. Finn Spin, Costa, everybody, thank you for joining us. Share the broadcast. Everybody come over, check us out here. All right, I want to wrap up the Tyreek stuff before we get into some other stuff. What's Tyreek's? I want to ask both of you guys this. All three can answer this. What we look back now, let's say he's done. What's his legacy with the Dolphins? We'll start with you, Al.
His legacy with the Dolphins, top 5 Dolphin wide receiver of all time. He had the second and the third best wide receiver seasons. The best, I think, is still Mark Clayton's 1984 season. Okay, with the 18 touchdowns.
Oh yeah.
His legacy is pretty secure. It's right there with Ricky Williams. I'm not so sure he is Ring of Honor material, but he belongs as a first ballot Hall of Famer. But you know how the sports writers are. They're going to make him wait. I think they're going to probably punish him for his off-the-field issues. But as far as his Dolphin legacy, it's pretty secure. It's one of the best wide receivers we've ever had. One of the best offensive players we've ever had. And like, if you're doing an all-time Dolphin team, he's one of your wide receivers. Like, it's him and Mark Clayton. Those are the two starting wide receivers, right? And Duper's probably in the slot.
Oh man, I can't even imagine what you can do with that. We had Mark.
Even you know what's weird? Even the all-time Dolphin wide receivers are all a bunch of little guys.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, his legacy is more than secure.
Who's your fourth? Is it Warfield? Who's
the fourth? Not more, maybe.
More? Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, that's it fits his offense, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, the fifth is Chambers, and the sixth is probably OJ McDuffie.
I was gonna say we got to put Juice in as a punt returner so we can install him in some offensive packages if they go 5 wide or back up in the slot.
And Duper. He can play in the slot too.
Exactly, back up. He's Duper's backup. Exactly.
Yeah.
But you make great. I'm going to agree with everything that Alf said. And the Ring of Honor, I think that it's going to still go with the way of Ricky. He's not in it. He might not get in it. And there are 2 guys for my money who I think need to be in it before anyone. And it's Cam Wake and Mr. McDuffie. So let's get those 2 guys in, and then we could talk about Ricky, then Tyreek. But I agree with everything.
Yeah, I agree with both. I agree with both. Who has a very, very strong chance at the Ring of Honor and every single Dolphin list ever? Jaylen Waddle. And it all starts on Sunday.
That is a beautiful segue to this question. It's Waddle season. It is officially Penguin time, and he's being paid like a number 1 wide receiver. It is now the time for him to show it. And with his relationship going back to Alabama with Tua, with the potential that we've seen, how do you see this unfolding, and what's the ceiling here?
Yeah, look, there's several guys on this team, and I've talked about them before, where I'm like, I'm like Joe Philbin, a little queasy on, like, look, I think that we probably have to replace Austin Jackson at season's end, okay? Because he's just not available, all right? We don't really know about Jonas Savaiinaea yet. We don't know about the defensive tackles. We're hopeful, right? I like Jordan Brooks. I don't think Tyrell Dodson's all that great. Minka Fitzpatrick, so far, not good. We're hoping for the best. There's certain guys I don't worry about on this team. And 2 guys I don't worry about is Devon Achane and Jaylen Waddle. Devon Achane's a star, going to be a star, and get ready to pay him. In fact, pay him at the end of the season, okay? Because next year is his contract year. And look, I on Twitter, somebody will say, this is all what happens. You pay these guys, and no, stop it. Devon Achane is going to be 25 years old when he's a free agent. Pay him, okay? Running backs don't cost that much money. The other guy that I do trust is Jaylen Waddle. That guy's a tough guy. He's a dog. Like, if there's a guy that you can trust on this team, always have been able to trust, is Jaylen Waddle. He's had some injury issues, but go back. Look at the games that he's missed. He hasn't missed that many. Okay? He'll play, and he'll play injured if he has to. He's a tough guy, and I think he's going to play well. I think he's really going to play well. And you see some big plays out of him too. I think he's going to have a good season. And it helps that he's on my fantasy team. So
You got him, Jason. I know Jason in our league.
I got him on a couple. I think the Fins Faithful League, I have him for sure.
Yeah, in my league, a guy took Tyreek right before me, and I'm like, I'm not letting this get to another round. I'm taking Waddle right here, and because I thought that they were going to trade Tyreek at the deadline, so I thought that I was going to get a really good payoff with Jaylen Waddle as the number one as soon as they traded Tyreek, right? So we get that a little early. I don't worry about Jaylen Waddle. I don't worry about Devon Achane. I worry about a lot of other guys on this team. I don't worry about those two guys.
No brainers.
We got to worry about the Borums and those guys in the world. In a crazy way, not a positive that Tyreek went out, but like, does it force now Mike to lean on? Because look, we know where this was trending, right? They were trending Waddle to take over that wide receiver one. In a crazy way, right? Like, no way losing Tyreek is a good thing. But does it force Mike to kind of do the things we want him to do? So it's kind of in a positive way, in a strange kind of way.
Yeah, it's gonna force him to get a little bit more back to basics, get back to his pedigree. That's what they did in San Francisco. All of this is kind of born from. Remember when he got here? A lot of people did a lot of think pieces on who Mike McDaniel was going to be and who his influences are. The best offense he was ever a part of was when he worked under Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta. Okay. And that team was built with two great running backs, a good offensive line, an MVP candidate at quarterback, and two great wide receivers in Julio Jones and Roddy White. That team also evolved into running the football. When they went to the Super Bowl, they had the best running game in the NFL. Even though they had the MVP in Matt Ryan, those are his roots. Like, that's who Mike McDaniel is supposed to be. That's who he is. So that this got forced onto him, I think it's a good idea, because not for nothing, I think he can save his job here.
Yeah, I agree. And the one thing also I wanted to kind of get into with the offense. Would you guys consider more Devon at wide receiver a little bit more and then more Ollie? Is that crazy? Jace, both of you guys go ahead and answer. Because I thought to myself, look, they brought in Cedric Wilson Jr. That's not an addition that's going to do any. He doesn't replicate any of the things Tyreek does. That's more of I would say, almost an NWI problem than a replace Tyreek problem. But would you guys consider? I mean, because he's a weapon on the outside too. Either one of you jump in. Would you guys consider Achane a wide receiver?
Go ahead, Alf.
Yeah, he could do it. He's always been a good pass receiver. You've seen him run routes. Like, he could run routes as a wide receiver. I don't know if you saw the dig he ran against Buffalo. That ball was right on target. It was just a great play by the cornerback.
Yeah.
He could do it all. That's one thing about that. Like I say, I don't worry about Devon Achane. I do not worry about him. He's a guy that you could just throw out there, ask him to do all kinds of things, and he could do it for you. In my opinion, I think you got to try to unlock Jalen Wright a little bit here and Ollie Gordon, and have them carry the load in the run game, reduce Devon Achane's carry load. Look, 20 in against the Jets. Okay, you did it one time. That's great. Don't do it again. Cut that carry load to like 10, 12. Yes. And like, if you want to have his touch count around 20, you can do that. Throw him screens, throw him passes, but his carry load to 12. If you could keep it at 12, that's more than enough. And have the rest of the guys carry that load as far as carrying the football, running the football. So yeah, he can do it all. And I think he's going to go a long way to replacing Tyreek Hill in that regard.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more on that, Al. And I've been preaching. George could attest to this. 20 touches, that's the magic number. 12 max on in between the tackle runs. Get him outside the hash marks. He averages about 6 or 7 targets, receptions a game. He's got like an 85% catch percentage, and he's Alvin Kamara basically. He's that next generation kind of guy. So I'm fully on board with hopefully getting Ollie Gordon or Wright on the field with Achane at the same time a lot more.
You mentioned some on the top of the show. Is there a chance? It's sounding when you say this out loud and you kind of hear yourself say it. Is there a chance the offense looks better? Like you mentioned that. Explain that how you think that it might actually be the case.
Well, it's going to be much more diverse. Yeah, you got to understand when Tyreek Hill is there, there's a gravitational pull, right?
Yes.
Everything moves toward Tyreek. You know, there's 11 targets going to Tyreek's way. And you know there's going to be, if there's 30 pass plays, okay, they call 30 pass plays. And I'm just saying 30 as a round number. If they call 30 pass plays, you know Tyreek is first in the progression in at least 20 of them. That doesn't help you to run good offense. Think about when they were most prolific in 2022 and 2023. It was when both wide receivers were going off. They were mixing up their play calls. They were running the football effectively, especially in 2023. That's when they were most effective. In 2025, think about what happened in 2024. Think about what happened in 2024 when Jonnu Smith had that big season. Jonnu Smith had that big season not because he just showed up and he's a really good player. He is a good player. But he had that big season because they were trying to replace their running game with a screen game to Jonnu Smith. So Jonnu Smith was essentially their running back, okay? That was their running game in 2024. That offense was broken. And the reason it was broken is because it was way too Tyreek-centric, and Jaylen Waddle was injured for most of the year. Turns out that Tyreek was also injured for most of the year. He had a broken wrist. So I think that the offense is going to improve because it's going to be much more diverse, and teams just are not going to know what you want to do and where you're going. Teams are just going to know, okay, there's Devon Achane, there's Jaylen Waddle, now there's Darren Waller. We got to account for those three guys. You know, it's not like before where they're like, you know what? If we take care of Tyreek, I think we're okay with the rest of the team. So, yeah, I think that it's entirely possible they're going to improve. Does that mean that they're going to get back to the levels of 2023? No, because that was a historic offense in 2023. But can they be better than they were in 2024? Yes. Yeah, I think they could be better than they were last year.
But obviously, with obviously Waddle's going to be the number one. Who do you think is a guy that needs to really step up to give them a spark? Is it Malik or maybe a Taj Washington comes? I don't know how you feel about the Cedric Wilson. I don't know what's happened with NWI. I just don't know. He's not fitting in it. There's no chemistry with Tua. I don't know what it is. But kind of who needs to give that juice that they're going to miss? Because they're going to miss some juice there. And they're going to need a little bit of that.
Well, yeah, everything falls on Malik, of course. But, like, I don't think they're going to play too much 11 personnel. Okay? So, you know, as far as trying to get a slot wide receiver involved, I don't think that's something they want to do. It's something that they might do on third downs maybe, but it's not going to be part of their base offense. So I wouldn't expect high catch counts for Nick Westbrook, Achane, or Cedric Wilson. You know, I think Taj Washington's going to be a specialist. Diaz Scritch is going to be a specialist. It's going to fall on Malik Washington because, look, first of all, they trust him. I think Mike McDaniel had an availability today. He spoke to the media today, and they asked him about Malik Washington, and he had a good answer. He said that they put a lot on his plate as a rookie and that it's rare that you see a rookie actually make plays for you when you're asking him to do a lot of things. And he said, look, he ran this corner route against the Rams when you had a 2-6 team and you needed him to step up. He ran this corner route. We threw it to him. He caught it. And then I was thinking, and he said in crunch time, you kind of trusted him to throw the ball to him in big spots. And yeah, that's who's gonna step up and who has the potential to be actually come out of this as something that you can count on for the future. I think it's Malik Washington. Absolutely.
Just a quick follow-up from Malik. I was a huge fan of him when he was drafted. Loved his college game. Think he's just such a versatile player. Want to throw a little bit of a fun stat that George knows that I've been sitting on. Mm-hmm. Once he gets a receiving touchdown, he'll have obviously the reception that he'll just get. He had the punt return. He had a rushing touchdown. He'd become the 5th Miami Dolphins wide receiver to hit that triple crown. Jarvis Landry, Jakeem Grant, who's the other one? Why am I drawing a blank right now? It's Freddie Solomon and Ted Ginn Jr. So that's kind of exclusive company, and he will, if he does it in the next game or 5, do it in the quickest amount of time.
Mark Clayton never had a rushing touchdown, right?
Exactly right.
Because he had a punt return.
Correct.
He had a punt return touchdown.
Yeah. But you know what? Mark Clayton had a throwing touchdown.
Yeah.
The first touchdown he threw it to Duper, his first ever 6 points that he produced. But OJ McDuffie never got in on the rush. You know, there were a couple of guys missing just because they were missing on one thing. But Malik, he's got all the skills in the world. And you said they trust him. And I got a kick out of that Malibo nickname that McDaniels gave him, even though he did not like it, Malik did. So I'm all aboard with the Malik Washington train right now.
We got a name here, the dead presidents, the Washingtons. I'm pushing for a better name than the Washington brothers. We'll see. We'll see if I know, Sonny, you've been sitting on that.
The second he took that punt return, I'm like, all right, here comes, let's go. Let's see who else is in this club right now. Because he's going to get a receiving touchdown, just a matter of time. But flipping to the defense, Alf, you know, that you mentioned the rushing defense, especially that first drive and the Justin Fields touchdown, what have you, not good, but it kind of tightened up a little bit. What do they have to do overall on the defense, especially stopping those running backs? Because they've had 4 appearances with running backs who have all just 8 so far.
Well, I just finished doing I did the all 22 for the offense yesterday, and then today I did it for the defense. And man, I'm out of answers. Like they improved when they simplified things. They got rid of a lot of their 2-gap stuff. They played Sealer as a 3-tech. So they're playing 1-gap stuff, and that helped. But it's a problem, okay? It's a problem when you put more stuff on the defense's plate, on these players' plate, and they just can't execute it. And I said on the Discord earlier tonight that it's a problem when the best thing on your defense is Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas, and those guys just got here a month ago. You know, so and actually those guys have been pretty damn good, especially Rasul Douglas. You follow Rasul Douglas over the last 3 weeks. That guy's played well. Jack Jones has played well in the last 2 weeks. Both are really good against the Jets. But man, I don't know. I'm kind of out of answers on the defense. They're just playing poorly. And you know, I also said this on the Discord, like maybe we've been talking about firing the wrong coach.
Ooh.
You know?
Alf. Hey, you plug that Discord, discord.gg OnlyFins. That's where you get that info.
It would have been nice to have them really listen to that violence comment. They weren't playing violently. They were playing the equivalent of a.
He's not dumb. He knows what he's doing.
All right. Let's see. I'm with Alf though on this one though.
Look, I saw that comment. Look, I like Anthony Weaver. I've covered him now for 2 years, and he's a thoughtful guy. And look, I thought, he's had a couple of weeks at the podium. I know how to speak coach. Okay. He's had a couple of weeks at the podium that are suspicious, to say the least. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Last week he dropped I'm the cook, and I can only cook with the ingredients that are being given to me.
That was a nice
which that was
a great shot, right?
Yeah, it sounded to me like he was like, look over there. You know, he didn't give me this, he didn't give me that. And then last week he's doing a Dan Campbell impersonation. And then he starts saying, I'm an old school coach.
Great call.
Yeah, and I'm like, are you trying to tell us that you're different than Mike McDaniel? You know? All I'm saying is we're 4 weeks in. One coach has his offense averaging 3 touchdowns a game the last 3 weeks, and the other one can't get off the field.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who you fire.
That's the thing is, you know, look, I'm not a huge fan of McDaniel, and to me, it's more than with Mike. It's more than what he does on the field with the play. It's kind of his leadership skills, and I always said you kind of have to have that fine line between fear and respect, and I don't know how he walks that. It's a real fine line, and I don't think Mike can change. I think if he changes, he comes off fake. So I think Mike is who he is, but I think it's a great point. We're all talking about fire McDaniel. Who's the replacement? It's going to be Weaver, and you know, I'm not sure, Jason. I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm not in favor.
I've fallen off that train since the last 4 games, you know, and last year it sounded like it was a good contingency plan, but I've taken a step back.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned Rasul. I think he fits this defense pretty well. And Jack Jones, I think they're getting better. What are your thoughts? After that first game versus the Colts, I said, let's go less zone here. We're not good at it. Like, they don't understand it. It's like they woke up and that was the first time they were taught to play zone defense. And then I said, the percentage I had a show on Saturdays with Curtis, and the percentage was we played 66.7 zone versus the Colts 33 man. I go, let's get that a little closer, maybe even more to the middle. It started trending that way. Pats 42% man, almost 43, 57 zone. Bills 47.4 man, 51.6 zone. Then they kind of went back a little bit towards the Pats game, 43 and 56 zone. The opponent will kind of depend on how much they do it. But do you agree that this team's, I think, better in man? This is my opinion.
Yeah, I think that their personnel is built for man. Look,
Yes.
Jack Jones is who he is. It's who he's always been. Who drafted him? New England. Who drafted him? Bill Belichick. What does Bill Belichick always do when he drafts corners? He always drafts them one way. He drafts some good guys that are good in man and that can run fast. So if you have a good 40 time and you have good tape in man-to-man coverage, that's who he likes. Okay? Jack Jones is a man corner. That's what he's a good press man corner. Russell Douglas the opposite. Russell Douglas is a zone corner. He really fits the scheme. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, but they don't tend to play well together because they have different skill sets. So yeah, for now we're okay, but let's not kid ourselves. Like, the offseason is going to come with, like, look, you thought you had a brand new secondary this year? Wait till the offseason this year.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have to replace Russell Douglas. They're going to have to replace, because look, Russell Douglas is a Band-Aid. Can you get maybe one season out of him for depth next year? Yeah, sure. But look, if you're counting on Russell Douglas to be your starting cornerback next year, then you learn nothing from this year, and you're doing it wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
And Jack Jones is a guy who's never stayed around long enough to see a second contract with the same team, right? So you can't count on either guy. So both guys are Band-Aids. They're going to have to redo the entire cornerback room next year again. So, get guys that would fit. The thing is, into what scheme are they going to fit into, right? Because so far it's just not working with Anthony Weaver, what he's calling. But he did have some good points. Like I said, he's had a very big 2 weeks at the podium. Like, it to me, it's a little bit off-putting because everybody still has jobs, and it looked to me like he was auditioning or interviewing for a job. But he did say, look, you got to understand we have complete turnover on the defense, and that's the truth. My partner on the podcast, Chris Kaufman, he looked this up, and it's the truth. Look at the top defenses for EPA the last 2 years. They're all the ones that are the most consistent as far as not having a lot of turnover, meaning they're keeping the same players on the field. Dolphins haven't been that. Dolphins have turned over. Look, last year they turned over the entire linebacking core. This year they said, we're going to do it again. The only thing that we're doing differently this year is that we're redoing all of the depth at linebacker, but we're keeping the top two guys from last year. This year, they redid the entire interior defensive line. They got brand new edge players this year because last year, Chubb and Phillips, they barely played. One guy didn't play. The other guy played 3 games, right? They redid the entire cornerback room. They redid the entire safety room to the point where they only have one safety left from last year's team, Elijah Campbell, and he plays on special teams. So they redid the entire defense, almost 100% turnover. And you kind of seeing the results. Not a very good defense. No. So the key is watch the season, be a little bit, be kind of patient, and let's take the season by quarters. I know that they play 17 games, so it's kind of hard to do. So throw out one game if you want. The first quarter's done. 1-3, unsuccessful. Let's see the next quarter. Let's see the third quarter. I'm interested to see what this defense looks like in the fourth quarter of the season, toward the end of the season, if they actually look like something. And if they do look like something, then maybe you have something that you could lean into next year that you could bring back.
Yeah. Well, quickly on the defense, what is, Sealer, somebody told me, that's pretty kind of close to the team, said, look, teams are game planning him, right? Like he had Calais Campbell, he had Christian Wilkins. Do you think teams are just focused on him more, his slow start, or is it also you got two young guys who sometimes don't know what they're doing out there and don't know how to kind of compliment him? What is you said he played a little better, I agree, this week, but what is your take on the slow start? Is it kind of those two things, or do you see something else?
Yeah, look, again, on the podcast, we talked about this last week, and I think we talked about it a little bit this week as well. Sealer, when he had Calais Campbell, when he had Christian Wilkins, it's almost second nature. Like, they know each other's games. They know when to pin a center and give him a two-way rush. Sometimes, like, if you watch the All-22, okay, of Kenneth Grant, and you see it on third down, you're watching Kenneth Grant, and Kenneth Grant's going into his bag. He's trying to show you every single pass rush move he has. When it might just be the best idea to crash into the center and give Zach Sealer a two-way rush where he could pick two gaps to run through, right? That's something that Calais Campbell was almost instinctual with Zach Sealer. He could look at him and saying, you know what? Follow my lead here. And you see that Calais Campbell and Christian Wilkins was great at it too. And Zach Sealer would do it for Christian Wilkins. Now it's just one way. Okay, now you have rookies trying to do it for Zach Sealer, because Zach Sealer, if he does it for one of the rookie's not going to know what to do with it, because he's a rookie.
Yeah.
If Zach Sealer all of a sudden is lining up, let's say in the B gap, okay, to the left of the center, all right, or on the defense, looking at it from behind the defense to the right of the center, right, and Zach Sealer notices something and looks at Kenneth Grant and says, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to crash one gap over and try to shoot the A gap from the B gap. And if I do that, it's going to force the center to pick me up. And if the center picks me up, that means I'm going to force a double team with the guard. If you follow me into the B gap, Kenneth Grant, you're going to be all alone on the quarterback, because I'm tying up two guys. Because also when I crash into the A gap, I'm going to grab that guard.
Yeah.
So you could follow me right into the B gap. And the sense I'm getting when I watch the All-22 is that Kenneth Grant's looking back at him like, what?
Yeah. Hopefully,
you know what I mean?
Hopefully that means you talk about quarters. Hopefully, as the quarters of the season go on, he figures it out, because you see flashes from Kenneth, but he's almost trying to flash and kind of show what he's got in his bag, but it's not right for that play. You're exactly right. Couldn't have said it better out.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe by the fourth quarter of the season, these guys are just, they're there together. They're, you know what I mean? They see what they're trying to do, and it becomes much more seamless, But, that's going to come with practice and time. They're rookies, and they're playing like rookies.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit more about those rookies. It took Chop Robinson a little bit, probably halfway through the season last year, to really get on, and he was phenomenal in the second half. Kenneth Grant, hopefully what you said, he can pick up what Zach Sealer's trying to maybe non-verbally or instinctually kind of guide him to. What are your thoughts on the entire rookie class overall so far, and what are your thoughts moving forward on?
Well, I'm over the moon on Ollie Gordon. He's a long-term fix on this. He's a long-term fixture on this team. He's going to help this team for a very long time. Look, you don't win the Doak Walker Award and be just anybody. All right. Okay. That's what, when we talk about the draft, there's a lot of recency bias by a lot of these scouts and a lot of these GMs. If Ollie Gordon had followed up the Doak Walker season with another big year the following year, he's a second-round pick.
Yep.
He's not no sixth-round pick, okay? He's a second-round pick. He's a priority running back for a lot of teams, and he's probably starting somewhere, okay? So I think he's a long-term guy. I love Jordan Phillips. I think he's going to be a good player for this team. Zeke Biggers is a guy that you're just going to look at down the road. That's a guy for next camp. That's a guy that next year at training camp, you say, okay, this is your year. You got to crack this rotation. You got to be a contributor this year. And then you start watching him, He's either going to be something or he's not going to be something. So Zeke Biggers is a guy that you're going to look at down the road. Kenneth Grant, I'm patient on. Jonas Savaianea, I'm patient on as well. I want to see the season. Jason Marshall had a bad start. Now he's injured. That's TBD on him. And Quinn Ewers, we know nothing about. He's a backup quarterback. You're hoping that he's Tua's backup. And if they do draft a quarterback next year and Tua is the placeholder for 2026, then maybe Quinn Ewers is good enough where he can challenge whoever they draft this coming year. So I love the draft class. It just hasn't paid off big dividends other than Ollie Gordon, who I absolutely love.
Agreed there. Dante Trader Jr., let's not forget him. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah. Look, he's cracked their defensive rotation. He's playing more. He's a guy that we're just gonna watch much more. Yeah. I like his maturity. You could tell there's a level of maturity there, okay, at a pretty intricate position. So I'm kind of optimistic about him. I'm more optimistic about him than I am about Jason Marshall. Although Jason Marshall had a better training camp,
Very fair on both accounts.
But we shall see. Well, jury's out on all these guys except Ollie Gordon, in my opinion. I think Ollie Gordon is a guy who, look, he's part of the offense. Like,
right.
What more can you ask? He's this year's Malik Washington. Like, you could already put a check mark next to his name and say, okay, we hit on this one. Like, this is a good draft pick.
He brings a different look, the look we needed in that room. And real quick, shout out to the chat, everybody. Make sure we got Alfredo Arteaga for 3 yards per carry. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, that follow button, support us. We got a question for you, Alf. Can Cedric Wilson still contribute to this offense?
Yeah, he's a good blocker. Okay. He's sure-handed. I don't remember him dropping many passes when he was here the first time around. So yeah, he can contribute. I think that he's here. I think he's here as a shot across the bow for NWI because, man, Nick Westbrook-Achane, man, I don't get it. Okay. He was really productive last year on a bad team. So that means he didn't have the great quarterback play. But it's kind of obvious, man. Tua doesn't like him. Tua has no chemistry whatsoever with Nick Westbrook-Achane. And come on, Darren Waller just shows up and Tua's like, throwing him alley-oops into the end zone. And I don't know if you guys saw his availability today. Tua had a very good availability, one of his better ones today.
Yeah, I saw some of the quotes. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, he had a little pep in his step. He talked about his new nutrition plan for his concussion issues.
Interesting. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that's for those of you that are hockey fans out there, look up what Sidney Crosby did to solve his concussion issues early in his career. So that was good news to hear from Tua Tagovailoa. But a great quote was Tua's like, and sometimes in practice, I throw him a bad ball to see him, to test his catch radius. And he just goes and gets it. And then he said, they asked him, did Frank Smith tell you anything about Darren Waller when they signed him? And he said, yeah, just put the ball anywhere near him and he's going to get it. So then that's when he said, okay. So he said, practice, he's like, yeah, he may think I'm throwing him a bad ball, but I actually do it on purpose. Like, I throw him a bad ball to see if he could get it. And I'm telling you, when Tua threw that pass, by the way, Mike Gesicki caught a stray in the postgame that day because Tua said, I remember the last time I threw a ball like that and somebody got it. Well, Mike Gesicki did 2 years ago, too.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. You're not going to beat the allegations of CTE with that one. All right. But, when he threw that ball, I was like, whoa. And then, oh, yeah, that's Darren Waller. And wow, he went up to get it. There's the picture in the elevator that they put on the elevator.
Yeah.
He's almost at the crossbar.
Dude.
That crossbar is 10 feet tall, which means that was a dunk. Okay. Darren Waller was essentially dunking the football. So
if you're going to miss on that throw, it goes over the uprights, in between the uprights. That's what you need. 6'6", a little bit high. There's only 2 chances: his hands or a field goal.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the Carolina game here. We got Carolina. We're 1-3. This looks like a good chance to go 2-3 here, Jason, against Carolina.
I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. They're not a good team. They're the worst pressure team in the league, which is tailor-made for Tua. Although, obviously, he gets the ball out quick. He's going to have just a little bit more time to probably be relaxed and to find any one of his weapons. I think this is a 31-14, 31-16 kind of game. And it's exactly what they need. And Alf mentioned it. Let's get 4 games in a row with 3 touchdowns.
Alf, your thoughts here going on to Carolina?
Yeah, it's setting up well for them. First of all, if you saw the injury report that came out today, Dolphins got a favorable injury report and for themselves, which is when's the last time we were able to say that, right? And then if you look at Carolina's injury report, that thing did not look good. Okay, it's a problem when Carolina's a bad team, but you look at their team and you're like, oh, those are 2 guys I would want on my team, meaning Taylor Moton and Chuba Hubbard. And both of them are looking like they're going to be out for this game.
Mm-hmm.
So Hubbard being out is huge.
Those are 2 top guys in the league, not top guys for Carolina. Those are 2 guys that look. Chuba Hubbard is maybe a top 10-ish running back. Taylor Moton is probably a top 5 right tackle in the league.
How many people know about him?
Yeah, if those guys are out, that's a big deal. Okay, that should help your defense. So yeah, you're getting a favorable injury report. You're going to be favored on the road. You have the better quarterback. Yeah, just beat them.
Yeah,
right.
I think this is a great game on the schedule. Perfect timing. This is setting up 2 and 3. And I know, Jason, that Chargers game, I know you're looking forward to that. I mean, they can look as much as this beginning.
It's not going to be what I.
Go ahead, Jason.
No, it's not going to, if they were winless, that Charger game would have been the kind of guillotine drop on McDaniel. I think he's bought himself a year. He's fine with that. Yeah. But I'm just excited to see Twitter burn no matter what happens with Herbert versus Tua. This place is going to go down. I'm looking forward to it.
What's the next banner? Are we banner free that Chargers game? Well, it depends what happens in Carolina. But look, people realize that doesn't matter. And here's I know the tank thing. When you have Tua as your quarterback, and if they change the offense like this, and kind of there's a floor there. It's a 7-8 win floor with this team, man. We're not going to be picking. I never thought this team would be picking in the top 3 or 4. At the end of the day, is it good for the franchise? Are we going to kind of get bought into some people coming back? I don't know that. Alf, your thoughts on that? Like, if they do the 7-8 win thing, right? And then Tua looks okay, the team gets a little better. Are we in that danger zone of the middle there, that where the problems, the worst place you want to be in sports is in the middle? Are we there again?
I never bought into that because if somebody told me, look, you're going to drive from Miami to Las Vegas, and you ask me, do you want to be by Jacksonville or Texas? I will tell you, no, I want to be by Texas. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I want to be halfway there. All right. Do you need 2 wide receivers? No, you got 1. You got Jaylen Waddle. Do you need a bunch of running backs? No, you got a couple already. Okay. Do you need 5 new offensive linemen? No, you got pretty much 3 that you can kind of count on going forward. Do you need a bunch of edge rushers? No, you probably got 2 that you like. Do you need a bunch of defensive tackles? No, you kind of have like a couple that you also like. Do you need linebackers? You got 1. I'd rather have less work to do than a lot of work to do. I never understood that. Oh, I want to be god-awful. I want to have nothing on the roster. I never understood that. Never understood that.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to put it, actually. But, yeah, I just think, more of maybe they bring a guy or 2 back they wouldn't have brought, and we're going to be doing this again next. I guess my question is, if they do the reset, right? Let's say they do it. How dramatic do you think it is? Like, how drastic is it? All 3, the 3-headed, Greer, McDaniel, Tua. I mean, we obviously want this team to win. But if they do, how drastic do you think it will be in that building?
I don't think it's going to be drastic at all. I think that the team is what it is. I think they're going to win enough. Where I think probably Chris Greer is gone. Okay. They'll bring in a new general manager or a new team president that's going to hire a general manager. And look, if you look at the team, they kind of did half the work already this year. The reset already started.
Right.
Okay. They're going to have a lot of cap space online coming next year and in 2027. So a new general manager is going to have like a decent kind of nucleus and a lot of cap space and draft picks to add to it. It's going to be an attractive job. And I think Mike McDaniel is probably going to be on probation next year with the new general manager. I think that's the way I kind of see it. I think they'll bring in a new guy, and that new guy will have Mike McDaniel on probation. And he either passes the test or Mike McDaniel gets fired. And I understand, man. People say, oh, just fire everybody. Everybody brand new, even the janitors. I'm like, okay. That doesn't happen in the NFL. That hardly ever happens in the NFL. Okay. It really doesn't happen that way.
Do you think, Jason and I talk about this all the time, do you think they get the best candidate if they bring somebody outside, knowing they have to inherit Mike?
Well, they have right now. Look, you're gonna get whoever you want, really.
Yeah.
If you really open it up for any general manager to come in, you're gonna get whoever you want, because if you tell them, like, look, you're gonna have Mike McDaniel on probation and you get to make the decision on him after a season, that's an attractive thing for any general manager to do. What I think they might do is hire like a team president, because I found it very suspicious that they hired Champ Kelly before the season started. And Champ Kelly basically doesn't even have an office in the building. Like, what are his, what is he doing in that building? He's not doing anything in that building. He's essentially an assistant to the assistant, but he's one of the hottest names in general manager circles. So I think it's a possibility they might just hire a team president to oversee everything, and that team president puts somebody in charge as the general manager under the team president. And it could be somebody as simple as, somebody that's not connected to the scouting world. Somebody that's connected to the executive world. My partner Chris Kaufman mentioned Donna Ponte is going to be.
Oh, bring her back.
One of the a reunion.
Yeah, one of the candidates. She's already done interviews for general manager positions.
Ooh.
And when people say, "Oh, wait a minute, you're going to bring in an egghead?" Yeah. You know who's the best general manager in football right now, right? It's Howie Roseman. You know who Howie Roseman is? Howie Roseman has never had a scouting job in his life. Who's the general manager of the Florida Panthers, the two-time defending?
George says that all the time.
It's Bill Zito. What did Bill Zito do for his entire hockey career? He was never a scout, ever.
He was an agent.
He was a cap guy and an agent. So he did contracts and he knew about the salary cap. And now he's the best general manager in hockey.
I say it all the time, man.
And he has two of these things.
Ooh, I got to get one of those.
I want to. Cosa Nostra brings up a question. Brandon Shore, he's like the CPA. He's like the accountant guy. You think he stays around and just works the numbers still, or?
Yeah, he's the contract guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's literally a CPA.
Yeah, he's essentially their contract guy, and they'll tell him, "Look, can we do this? Can we do that?" And he's the one who's going to give you the answer, like, "No, we can't do that."
He's going to crunch the numbers in the Excel sheet.
Yeah, and he's going to say, "Yeah, we can do that." Or he's going to say, look, you could spend this on this. Like, what's your budget this year for defensive line? Okay, we're spending $35 million on the defensive line. All right, so how are we going to work that? So he's a cap guy and a really, really good one. So, like, I would expect him to stick around.
He comes up through, like, the human resources world. He is that exact what you need to kind of say yes or no. Here's the briefcase of money that you can and cannot use.
Right.
I want to quickly go to. Oh, actually, Coach has another question. Does anybody know who's actually calling the shots with Solo? We'll just say, does anybody know who's actually calling the shots? I mean, Garfinkel's almost bigger than most people think, right, Alf, in that building?
Yeah, but I don't think he touches the football side,
So, it's Chris
This is Chris Greer's show. Yeah, this is Chris Greer's show, and, he has a lot more pull than a lot of people think, okay? Because you could almost, like, is there a way, like, look, I like Jack Jones. I liked him when they signed him. But does anybody think for a second that Anthony Weaver would say, I have a zone-centric defense, bring me a press man corner in Jack Jones?
Yeah.
No. I think that Anthony Weaver in March, in fact, I have some information on this. I think in March, they wanted Rasul Douglas. And it took them until late August to get Rasul Douglas in here. Because they couldn't reach the amount of money that they wanted to pay him. Or maybe Rasul Douglas was like, look, I'm going to hold out for better money. until I don't get it, and then I'll just take Miami's offer. Maybe that's what happened.
I also think the draft had his fingerprints on it. Like this draft, and I know everybody's down the rookie class, but you said they've already started kind of the reset with the contract. I think this draft in the future could be a good draft to start a reset. I think it's too early on Jonah. With Kenneth Grant, I think it's too early. Phillips, even though his play snap went down to only 18 last week, you've got a couple of young defensive linemen and offensive linemen. Let's give it some time. I think this is a good draft too.
Yeah, I would urge a lot of patience.
Yes.
Look, there was people that were hitting me up on Twitter in year 2, late in year 2. This Christian Wilkins guy's a bust. And I'm like, really? You think he's a bust? Okay. Slow down. There was one guy I bet that mysteriously disappeared. Okay. I made him a bet he was going to get a top 5 defensive tackle contract. And the guy went on Twitter to say that I was insane. Okay. I said that in 2022. And the guy said, you're insane. The guy disappeared. He didn't get a top 5 defensive tackle contract. He got the number 1 defensive tackle contract in the NFL. So, you know,
you're
patience. Right. Patience, especially with big people. With big people, you got to be patient. Look at Patrick Paul. His tape was terrible at Houston. Terrible. As a rookie, you watched him in the snaps that he played, and you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. Look at him now.
Yeah, you know? It's funny on the Patrick Paul about what his hand placement in college was just awful. But then his rookie year, I'm thinking, I always say this, that 36-inch arms and 31 reps, when a guy can do that many reps with that arm length, he just kind of gets away with the stuff he does. And I think maybe I took for granted in college, like he got away with it and he kind of can get away a little bit in the pros. I mean, I don't know, is that crazy, Alf? Did you kind of have that same thought?
Yeah. No, yeah, I could see it. Yeah. I could see it. Yeah, it's working for him. Yeah, but no, his hand placement and his technique is much, much better, though.
Much better. But he got away with it a lot in college because, I think maybe Jake Long was another guy with those long arms and 30-plus reps. If you know anything about that, it's the short arm, barrel-chested guy.
But look, man, Patrick Paul deserves a lot of credit. He deserves a lot of credit because if you watched him at Houston, some of his tape, you can see he's kind of lumbering, doesn't look very quick, doesn't look like a great athlete. Man, that guy got in the gym and he got slimmer, got thinner, showed up in camp in great shape, and just watch him. Watch him. Guys try to take him on the loop, and he's out there meeting them. I'm talking about these are quick guys that are trying to beat him on the loop, and he's like, "No, I have you. I'm in front of you. I may look big, but I don't move slow. Wow.
He's an impressive athlete. He's got like martial arts background. He can move with that big body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of the draft, real quick, 2 more questions. We'll get you out of here. The quarterback draft class. You like? I know it's early. I'm a Sellers guy. I like Dante Moore. I know you guys talk about the kid out of Arkansas a lot. Taylor Green. Yeah. Anybody you like this class? I mean, of course, with the NIL. You never know who really is coming out. I'm not a huge Carson Beck fan, but what do you think of this class?
Oh, I like this class. I don't think Sellers is coming out. There's no reason for him to come out.
I'm starting to lean that way.
Okay. First of all, I think he needs a little bit of seasoning. Second of all, he's going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
I think he's going to make more money in college next season than he would if he came out in the NFL his first year. So I would forget about Sellers. He's not coming out. He needs seasoning. He'll be back in college making a ton of money next season. I like Mateer. I like Taylor Green. For those of you that watch Taylor Green plays for Arkansas, Arkansas is god-awful. Watch Taylor Green play football.
He's a freak.
And then ask yourself this question. If he was on a top 5 team, would he be a number 1 overall pick and a Heisman candidate? Because I think he would. If you got Taylor Green and you moved him, let's say, put him on Notre Dame, put him on Miami, put him on Alabama, put him on any of those teams, how would he look? I think he would look fabulous. And a lot of people would be looking at him like, my God, this is the guy. This is the guy who's going to be a first-round pick, and he's a Heisman candidate. So I like Taylor Green a lot, and I like John Mateer. I don't like that John Mateer got injured, but they say he's coming back in a month. I want to see how he comes back from the injury. I don't like Drew Aller. And
I think
look,
Hackenberg when I think Aller.
Nussmeier getting injured and his size, man, that's concerning to me as well. So, Carson Beck, I want to see the rest of the season because look, man, it's the opposite. It's the opposite of Taylor Green. Carson Beck, he's on this is a machine, all right? Yeah. This is a wagon. The Hurricanes have a loaded roster. They have the best offensive line in college football. They have 3 good running backs. They have good wide receivers. They have an NFL tight end. Okay, Lofton is going to play in the NFL. So I watch him a little bit more suspiciously than I do watch Taylor Green because Taylor Green has garbage around him.
Yeah.
Carson Beck has a loaded roster. So Carson Beck, the expectations for Carson Beck are sky high. He better play spectacular this season because he has all the help in the world.
Yeah, Green is just. I've started getting more of his tape. Like I said, when we do big draft stuff, and he's 6'6", 230. A little inconsistent, but man, this is exactly what the next quarterback of the Dolphins I want to look like. I don't want I like Nussmeier, but I want some guy with some traits that come off the bus, man. I think we haven't tried that like this. And I agree with you. This is a guy, maybe, I don't know where he's going to go in the draft. I think the draft process after the college season is going to be big for him, how he tests. I mean, he's probably a, 4.45 guy. He is just a freak. I'm telling you, him.
Well, he's so big. He's so big, I don't know if he's going to run 4.4 or 4.5, But remember, a guy that big, if he runs 4.6, 4.7, that's flying.
He's impressive. I mean, Jason, you got to watch him. I agree with you. If he was on a bigger program, we're talking. He's in the conversation. But I wish Sellers would come out because that one throw Sellers made a few weeks ago on the run, it's not many guys.
Yeah, the thing about Taylor Green, man, you watch him play, you see that sometimes he goes back to pass, that they cut off his reads, and he escapes the pocket, and you see he just takes a casual 2-3 steps, and you're like, oh, okay. He ran out of bounds and got 2 yards. And then they go, 2nd and 1. And you're like, whoa, he got 9 yards on that. Because if you watch him, he moves like he's gliding because he's so long. He's 6'6".
He's a long strider.
He's 6'6", 230. And you're like, whoa, that was not a 3-yard gain. That was a 9-yard gain. And he just did it by escaping and just gliding toward the sideline. So, no, I like Taylor Green a ton, but like all these guys, none of these guys are finished products. None of them.
Yeah.
So that's why I would advocate if you're going to take one this year, have Tua play in 2026 and season this guy really, really well. Don't make the mistake that a lot of people make with rookie quarterbacks. You got to give them a ready-made roster. Okay? The worst thing you could do with a rookie quarterback is give them a terrible roster. Because then what happens to them? They just get beat up along with the roster. Give them a good offensive line, give them weapons, and then just say, look, you have it all.
Jalen Hurts example.
Yeah. You have it all. Now go do your thing,
Imagine a Taylor Green. You can have Tua. It's kind of like the Alex Smith situation. You could have Tua, have Taylor Green there, and holding the clipboard, learning, and if Tua gets hurt, you got your young kid there ready to go, and I think it's a perfect scenario.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jason, let's wrap this thing up. We got a score predictions for the Carolina game?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with let's call it 31-16.
All right, I'll go last. I'll go 34. I'll go 34-16. Oh.
I'm gonna stick around the same thing. Although I will give my prediction tomorrow on the show.
Okay. All right.
But
you can hold off if you.
Yeah, I'll hold off, but I'm right there with you guys. I think Miami gets in the 30s, and I think Carolina struggles to get to 20, or maybe they get to 20. So
you guys you tune in tomorrow to 3 yards per carry show with CK, Simon, and Alf. All right, Alf, what you got going on 3YPC and all the Discord and OnlyFins? Let them know where they can find you and get hooked up and all that.
Well, you could go on our feed, and if you go on our feed, you're going to listen to our show, of course. You're going to listen to my OnlyFans Q&A live show, which we do live on our Discord server. If you want to become a member of our Discord server, you go to Discord, and you go to discord.gg/OnlyFans, and become a member there, all access for $4.99 a month. If you want to do the read only for $2.99, go ahead. But we do all access for $4.99. We highly recommend it. We have over 2,000 members in there. Enjoy.
Yeah, I agree, and it's worth it. So we appreciate it, guys. We appreciate everybody in the chat.
Yes, thank you so
We got
much
over
for taking the
100
time.
people on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more great content. Don't forget to check out 3 Yards Per Carry. Check out all their great stuff. We thank you guys always. Check the social media. We'll be back on soon this week and covering the Dolphins and the Panthers game. Of course, we'll be live post game right after the game as always. So thank everybody for joining. For Jason, for Al, for myself, guys. Fins up. We are out.